I need to learn something.
Okay, so girls, this is our first recorded lesson. It's our massive class of Shyla, Lavinia, and Ms. Goodison. So massive class, We'll see how it goes on. Sir spends about, 20 minutes trying to work out what an iPad does, because he's very technologically savvy. Okay, so to do now today, and with my massive class here, they're all going to be working very hard, because I've only got 2 people to pick the questions from, and one's currently doing work, so it's only one person at the moment. Okay? In your opinion, how important do you think ethics or values are in conducting good business? Okay? So when we're looking at ethics, we're talking about good and bad. And when we're looking at values, we're looking at what do you hold dear? Okay? Now, who do you reckon I'm going to ask the first question to? How you going, Charlotte?
Okay, so I think that it is important because it ensures longevity. I feel like it keeps consumer loyalty and customer loyalty.
So Shyla says that ethics and values will...
It is important.
Yeah, it's very important because it ensures longevity of the business, make sure it keeps on running, and make sure that your customers keep on coming back to you. Which is a fantastic answer. Excellent work. Okay? So today we are looking at ethics in business, and it is the last one of the dot points of the series of dot points that we've been doing for business process and management. Okay? We'll do finance next week, but today we're just going to start on business ethics. Very easy lesson to sort of cast yourself into. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just good, right, wrong, why would you do it, why wouldn't you do it? Okay? So, what I want us to do is, in the following video, I want us to take down notes of what the big 3 conditions that will cause workers and managers to engage in unethical behaviour. So what are the 3 factors or conditions that will make most workers and managers go, all right, let's do the bad thing or the unethical thing? Okay?
Principles in business are not materially different from ethical principles in general, because business's actions have to be judged in the context of society's standards of right and wrong. There is not a special set of rules that business people decide to apply to their own conduct. Business ethics involves the application of general ethical principles to the actions and decisions of businesses and the conduct of their personnel. While most company managers are careful to ensure that a company's strategy is within the bounds of what is legal, evidence indicates that they're not always so careful to ensure that their strategies are within the bounds of what's considered ethical. There are 3 main drivers of unethical business behavior that stand out. Let's take a look. It begins with faulty oversight, enabling an unscrupulous pursuit of personal gain and other selfish interests. People who are obsessed with wealth accumulation, greed, power, status, and other selfish interests often push ethical principles aside for their quest of personal gain. Driven by their ambitions, they exhibit few qualms in striking the rules or doing whatever is necessary to achieve their own goals. A general disregard for business ethics can prompt all kinds of unethical strategic maneuvers and behaviors at organizations. Then there's the heavy pressures on company managers to meet or beat performance targets. When key personnel find themselves scrambling to meet the quarterly or annually sales and profit expectations, they often feel enormous pressure to do whatever it takes to protect their reputation for delivering good results. As the pressure builds, they start stretching the rules further and further until the limits of ethical conduct are overlooked. Finally, a company culture that puts profitability and good business performance ahead of ethical behavior. When a company's culture spawns an ethically corrupt or amoral work climate, people have the company-approved license to ignore what's right and engage in most any behavior they think they can get away with. Such cultural norms as everyone else does it, and it's okay to bend the rules to get the job done, permeate the work environment. Such companies, ethically immoral or amoral people, are certain to play down observance of ethical strategic actions and business conduct. Moreover, cultural pressures to utilize unethical means if circumstances become challenging can prompt otherwise honorable people to behave unethically. So it's incumbent on strategic managers to recognize conditions that give rise to unethical business strategies and behavior.
Okay, so we had three main drivers of why people might engage what is unethical or what we call bad behaviour in business. Okay, Lavinia, what was the last one? What was it, sorry? Yeah, so you're going to be valuing profit over ethics. Okay, so basically at the end of the day, you're going, that dollar sign is more important than doing what's right. Okay, because I need the money more than I need to know what I'm doing right. Okay, you're doing the bad to get the money instead of doing the good to get less money. Okay, what was the second one, Charlotte?
Heavy pressure to meet goals.
Yeah, heavy pressure. And I would say this is probably the one that we see the most in regards to students when they do something unethical. Okay, when we're looking at assessments in students and unethical or bad behaviour, what do you think is the one that would probably come up the most? Starts with a P. Plagiarism, yeah, copying other people's works without citing them or sourcing them. Okay? Now, most students don't tend to do that unless they have no other choice. Now, that no other choice could be, oh, I've left it to the very last minute. It could be that they didn't understand how to do it. Or they've basically just gone, I've got too many things going on outside in the real world, not school. I need to do this. Now, we're not saying that's a good thing, that's unethical, that's bad. But it might be one of the reasons that they will do it. It's the same thing in the business world. Your boss is leaning down over you. They're saying, get this done by this appropriate time. And you're basically going, I can't do this the right way, the proper way. I'll cut a couple of corners. Okay? Do you remember what the first one was, Lavinia? Faulty oversight, yeah. We actually had two words that were specifically for that. It was faulty oversight, you are right. Selfish interest, okay? Which is all about you going, it's all about me, okay? We all know what selfish means, okay? So basically that person is going, I'm going to do something unethical to get ahead in the game. Basically, they're cheating for their own benefit. Okay? So, let's keep on going. And hopefully that will work. Fantastic. Okay. So let's have a look at these two different scenarios here. Okay? Now I might turn off that centre light because I think it's just a bit hard to see. Is that a bit better? Probably help if I actually turned off the centre one. Okay? Which do we agree with more? The one on the left-hand side. A business's primary, meaning their top responsibility, is to its shareholders and owners and to make sure they are as financially, meaning money, profitable as possible. Okay? Or scenario two, a business must ensure that it operates in fair and equitable, equal practices to its employees and surrounding community, as well as making profit. Now for our two lovely students here, put your hand up if you agree with the left one more than the right one. So the left one being, their main goal is to make as much money as possible. Would you agree with the right one, Charlotte?
Yeah, but I feel like the left one is important as well.
Absolutely.
I do agree more with the right
Yeah, so Charlotte's basically saying that she agrees with that right-hand side more because she's going, businesses have a responsibility to the community. It's not like they can just start up a business and start chucking out their rubbish everywhere in the community. That's not being responsible, it's not being ethical, okay? But we can't forget that a business's main goal at the end of the day is to make money. And people are going to invest in that business to make money, okay? So they do have a responsibility to the shareholders and the owners of the company. The shareholders being those percentage owners, okay? But they also do have to look after the community and their own employees. Okay, if they're working their employees like slaves, that's not ethical. Okay? So neither of these are wrong, per se. Okay? But there has been a definite shift in what the community views as the primary responsibility of the businesses during the past century. So if I asked you 100 years ago, which one of these is more appropriate? Most people 100 years ago would have said the one on the left. Business's sole reason is to make money. Okay? Don't worry about the community, that'll sort itself out. Okay? But as we go into 2020, a lot of people are now saying, you can't just be making money, you have to care about the community as well. Okay? It's rather intense with only 2 students, isn't it? You know, just to keep on looking at either one of you. You know? Have you got the answer? Have you got the answer? So let's break it down. Okay, let's get this one in our books. Okay, this is one that we definitely need. The pure definition of what ethics are.
So are you opening a Zoom right
No,
now? No? Okay.
just a normal video. I don't have to mute myself for this one, you know.
Yeah.
I managed to do half a Zoom the other lesson, miss, and muted myself for half the lesson. So, if I said standards to you, Charlotte, what's a standard?
I don't know how to explain it like a set. It's like bare minimum goal.
Bare minimum goal, yeah, that's actually not a bad one, okay? It can be a bare minimum or bare maximum.
Yeah.
But what you do know is that a standard is a goal, it's something to reach for, okay? And you can sort of point to it and go, that's what I'm reaching for, okay? So when we're saying standards of behaviour, we're basically saying, this is what you should be trying to behave like, okay? Now, Lavinia, have you ever heard this word before, moral? Where have you heard it before? Yeah, people saying it? Yeah. Usually they say it involved with something else. They normally say it's morally bad or it's morally good. Okay? So whenever we see the word moral, we basically just keep on going good, bad, good, bad. Okay? So when we're looking at ethics, we're basically saying this is the standard, this is how you should behave, and these are the good things that you should be doing. If you are doing these things, you are being ethically good. Okay? Or you're being ethical. Alright? And how do we get these values? Well, they're based on management, the people working in the business, and the people surrounding the business, which is the community. Okay, so you might get very different interpretations of what is ethical from a business that's based in China to a business that's based in the United States. Okay? Doesn't mean that one is good and one is bad, but their cultures are going to have different ethics. Okay? So this is very important, okay, because people often get these two mixed up, okay, what it doesn't mean. Ethics do not determine what is legal and what is illegal, okay? It's about good and bad, not what's illegal and illegal, okay? They merely determine what is right and wrong or acceptable. Whilst it is possible to be unethical in business, and it's possible to be an unethical business manager, doing something illegal will land you in jail, okay? So there is the difference. The best way that I can describe it, rather disgusting example, it is not illegal to cut a fart in an elevator, okay? It is, however, unethical. You shouldn't do it, okay? But you're not going to go to jail for it, okay? So when you're thinking about unethical behaviour in business world, you've got to think about behaviour that is bad. Now, not all unethical behaviour is legal. Some unethical behaviour is, of course, going to be illegal. But just because it's unethical doesn't mean that it is illegal. When you're engaging in unethical behaviour as a manager, it could be something like treating your staff very poorly, making sure that they don't get the proper rest times off. You're not being illegal, but you're pushing them to the absolute limit. Okay? That could be an example of unethical behaviour. Okay? Maybe giving one member of staff, always giving them the really bad job. Okay? Not illegal, but not ethical either. Okay? So what does being ethical actually look like? Okay, well, if we're being ethical as a manager, we're doing these things. Okay, we're A, treating people fairly, B, having pride in our work. Okay, you're not basically pushing out the crappiest product that you could get and go, it's good enough. Okay, we dress and speak appropriately. We be transparent in their decision-making process. This one is what undoes a lot of managers, transparent. Do you know what this means, transparent? You ever heard it somewhere?
I don't know what paper.
Yeah, transparent paper. What can you do with transparent paper? What's special about it? Exactly right, you can see through it. Okay, that's a fantastic example. So when they're saying being transparent as a manager, it's basically saying you're making decisions and people can see why you made those decisions. They can see that it was a fair process. You're not being what's called opaque about it and being hard to see through it, and nobody sort of knows why you're making those decisions. And if nobody knows why you're making decisions, people will start making up stories about why you made those decisions. Oh, Christine didn't give Laverne the bad job because they're best friends. They didn't see it as Christine didn't give Laverne the bad job because everybody knows that Laverne's skills reside in another area. That's why Christine put her in that role. Okay, you have to be transparent. You should be considering the interests and concerns of stakeholders. So the people that invest in your business, they're called shareholders. Obviously, you should be concerned about their thinking because they're the ones that are paying you. But the stakeholders might be people in the community around you and also your own employees. You should be considering what their interests are because they can also very much affect you. Okay? If you annoy a community enough, they can very easily take apart your business. Okay? And use and develop the business's resources properly to achieve its goals. So if your business managed to get an extra surplus at the end of the year, maybe it's great to invest it back into the business rather than taking the managerial squad on a vacation in Hawaii. Okay? Not very ethical. So, why would we want to be ethical? Okay? Sort of like asking someone, oh, why do you want to be good? Okay? Why don't you want to push that old woman down in the street? Okay? Obviously, we wouldn't do it, I hope. Okay? But it has to be explained, why do we want to be ethical in business? Okay? Whilst maintaining a good ethical front may be burdensome, meaning a lot of work, it is important. Managers need to have high personal standards to provide models to their employees. Because the employee is not going to do anything that the manager won't display himself. Okay? If you're not showing that you're putting in the hard work yourself, and they walk into your office every time that you've got like your feet up on the desk, going, I'm not doing anything today. Your employees are going to be looking at that going, either A, I'm going to kick that manager out of his position, I'm going to take his job, or B, why should I work hard? Okay? If they fail to do so, they cannot be surprised when employee discipline falters. Okay? Just not a surprise, is it? So, what we'll do is we've got a couple of scenarios, okay? And I want you to think about, when we read through these scenarios, what would you do as a manager in that position? Okay? In the Australian context. So I'm not going to give you some businesses in the Chinese context, because that might be a bit hard for all of us here. Okay? So let's have a look at the first one. Okay? Ethical Spotlight 7.2. Young people can gain valuable experience by undertaking unpaid work as an intern. Are managers obligated to provide a paid position at the end of the internship? Okay, so they basically go to the job to go get training. They don't get paid while they're getting the training. Do you guys agree that the manager should give them a paid position at the end? Or do you guys think that, they got the experience, that was enough? What do you think, Aline? You got an opinion.
I think it depends on like if they like when they're working, if they're actually doing work well, if they're interested.
That's actually an excellent answer. So Lavinia's sort of looking into the depths of the answer and going, well, when they were the intern, did they actually do the work? Did they do it properly? Were they motivated? Okay, if they were doing it properly, motivated, things like that, do you think that they should get a position at the end? Yeah? What do you reckon, Shah?
I think that a manager's obligated. I just blanked, but I think that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the young people are entitled to more than just like underpaid work.
Yeah.
And I think that will also in turn encourage them to come back and keep working for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So good idea in practice,
Yeah.
okay? And if we do give them positions, it is going to encourage more young people to sort of go for that business, and you're going to hopefully be attracting the best, okay? I guess the key word in this scenario would be obligated, okay? Meaning they have to do it, okay? Because exactly like Lavinia said, if they're a not very good employee, and just because they've done an internship there, you're obligated to give them a job, that's a problem, okay? But the ethical part of this scenario would be a bit more in-depth, so good work, okay? Let's have a look at it. So this is a big one, and we're going to read through it together, okay? So scenario 1, my way or the highway attitude, okay? You have been working for a large corporation for 3 years. The job is tough, and you have fought your way up the ladder of success. The manager of your department was your co-worker from 2 years ago, and the power has gone to her head. She is overly demanding and has my way or the highway attitude that grates on your nerves daily. I think we all know someone like that, don't we? Okay? 6 months ago, Trish was hired in a position 3 levels above yours due to years of accounting and SEC reporting experience. Trish and your manager never see eye to eye on any issues, and there are daily battles between them that you observe. This person talks non-stop most of the day and sits across from you in a cube environment. One day, after a particularly ugly discussion with your manager, this person comes to you and informs that she is going to quit her job and sue the company. She believes that the manager is treating her unfairly and that it constitutes harassment. You smile politely and blow off the comment as just anger being vented due to the current situation and go on with your day. As time progresses, you hear the same comment about suing the company several more times from your co-worker, and you hear her discussing this with several other members of your department. So basically you've got this co-worker who is just being hammered and hounded by your manager, okay, who was previously your friend, and this manager is just on their back all the time and being really ugly about it. So we've got 4 options, okay? Number 1, we take the co-worker aside and tell her to stop making comments, okay? Number 2, go to your manager and tell her what the co-worker is saying. Number 3, keep to yourself and make no comments to anyone in the organisation. And number 4, go to human resources and report your co-worker's behaviour and threats. Now this one's more complicated than you might realise, and the answer that you think is simple might be a bit more complex. Okay? Yep.
What do you mean by human resources?
Human resources are the department of the business that manage all the complaints employees make against each other. They also hire people and they fire people. Okay, so if you're having an argument with somebody else in the company, you're going to HR. Okay, they also train everyone. Okay, okay. What are you rolling towards, Charlotte?
I think the human resources, but I don't agree with the last part of that sentence. Like, I feel like it shouldn't only be focused on the co-worker's behaviour,
Yep.
but also on the managers. But then at the same time, I feel like she's not part of the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. It's
Plus, like, just based off of my own experience from work, usually when you have an issue with something, you go straight to whoever you have the issue with. So if I was in her position, I would go to the manager, but then that could make things worse because
yeah.
the manager's
So-
already.
Really good thought pattern that you're going there, and like basically, oh, we can go to human resources, but are we reporting the co-worker? Like, it's sort of a hard one, that one. What do you reckon, Lavinia? Which one are you going towards?
I think like, well, it's not really up there, but I think she was like, oh yeah, okay. So like the first one and the third.
Yep, so the first one, take the co-worker aside and tell her to stop making the comments. I'd rather have a sensible option, okay? Because we know that if the employee keeps on making comments like this, it probably won't go too well for them, okay? Let's see what their answer was. So this was taken from a journal article in the United States about business behaviour and ethics, okay? So this was their answer. Your first choice should be A. Take the co-worker aside and tell her to stop making the comments. Many people are often unhappy with their jobs and or management and vent by making various comments about disliking this person or that person, despising management and their tactics, etc. Okay? But this does not mean they will ever take any kind of action. By going to management or human resources, you may be causing a situation that will both alienate you, that's meant to say, so distance you, from both you and your work group and the person making the comments. This could also backfire and make you look bad to upper management for not being a team player and keeping these internal comments to yourself. It's a very tricky scenario on this one, okay? Because you want to help this person, okay, because they're having a bad time. But this person also needs to understand that they can't be yelling around on the office floor going, I'm going to sue the company. It's not good practice, okay? Your best bet is sort of taking that person aside and going, look, okay, you've got to stop making these comments. You're going to get in trouble. Now, if it was me, I would make the additional comment to that person of, Now, if you do have serious problems, there's a couple of options that you can take. Option 1, you talk to the manager yourself if you have a problem, just like Charlotte suggested. Option 2, the employee that has the problem goes to HR themselves, not you. Okay? Because when you go to HR, you're sort of putting yourself right in the middle of that firing line, and now you are part of that situation. Okay? Or option 3, if they're in a union, they talk to the union rep. Okay? Which will basically sort of try and back them up. But the important thing is, ethically, you don't want to get your head stuck in there. Okay? It's only going to end poorly for you. Okay? And that's the same thing in pretty much everything as well, isn't it? Like, you don't want to get your head stuck into a friend's argument, because suddenly you're in that argument now, and you're now a key argument player. Sometimes it's better just to wait till everything calms down and talk to them each individually. Okay? So another long one, we'll read through it again though. Okay? Paula is 20 years old, working for an employee health clinic at a local medical school. Paula files, runs errands, types correspondence, and orders supplies for the office and clinic. She initiates all of the orders to the appropriate vendor when the nurses inform her that they are running low on supplies. However, there is one vendor that calls her regularly to see if they need gloves or syringes. When supplies were low, Paula would have this vendor fill the order. One day, she received a package from this company. Inside was an underwater camera and a note thanking her for her business. A few weeks later, the vendor called to get approval to ship more supplies. Paula declined, as informed him supplies were not low. The salesperson became annoyed and reminded her that they were under a contract and would face a penalty if the supplies were not shipped and paid for within a specified time period. Paula knew nothing of a contract and assumed that it was set up before she started working here. The salesperson told her that after payment was received, they would send her a stereo to thank her for continued business. Okay? Now, there's a word for what's happening here, and it starts with B. Does anybody know what this word is? When you sometimes take money that you shouldn't be, or gifts. We often use it in terms of police officers and politicians, but it can be in the business world as well. A bribe. Okay, a bribe. So, because that's effectively what this is. Okay, this woman, she fills in the supplies and then she gets a stereo. Okay? And she goes, I don't know, not a stereo, the first time she got an underwater camera. Okay? She goes, I don't know why that's there, but okay, I guess I'll keep it. I guess it was a gift for whoever orders the supplies. The second time the business calls up, she's like, we don't need anything. And they're like, no, you have a contract. You have to buy from us now, even if you don't need the products. But if you continue doing business with us, we'll give you a stereo. Okay? It's obviously something a bit fishy happening around here. Okay? So here's our options. You have the salesperson speak to a supervisor. Number 2, you call the legal department, okay, which is basically the lawyers in your company. Number 3, you decline the gift. Number 4, you ask for a copy of the contract. Or number 5, you tell the salesperson to ship the supplies and receive the stereo in a few weeks. I like number 5. Yeah. Number 5, yeah. Which one are we sort of leaning towards?
I think the first thing I would do is ask for a copy of the contract.
Yeah, ask for a copy of the contract.
Oh, actually, no.
Keep on going.
No, I would ask for a copy of the contract.
Ask for a copy of the contract? Which one do you reckon, Lavinia?
Maybe like the first one.
The first one, have the salesperson speak to a supervisor. You know, like with this one, I feel like they're all pretty good besides the last one. Okay, the last one is probably like the one we're looking at going, come on mate, don't pick that one, you know. But I have a feeling with the first four, all of them are right. It's just some are going to be more right than others. Okay? So let's have a look at what the journal article said. So, answers A, B, C, or D, or a combination of any of the options. So as long as you pick one of the first four, you're okay. If you wanted to combine those two, which is definitely what I'd do, I think that's a great idea. Okay? Any of the options is what might have been selected. Not only would accepting these gifts appear unethical, it is most likely against company policy to do so. Because why would it be against company policy to do so? It would constitute a bribe. Very good. Okay? This scenario actually happened. Months later, the vendor sent a television set. The television set was left at the office. Paula felt bad about accepting the stereo and camera as well as the television, but obviously not bad enough to reject it. Like, oh, God, I love Paula, you know. Some time passed and a company called to collect the money that they claimed was owed. By that time, management had changed and Paula felt she must confess to what has taken place. Her company admitted to recording her phone conversations without her knowledge. There was never a contract. The legal department became involved. Fortunately for Paula, everything worked out and 10 years later she was still employed at the company. I would say that's a very generous company, okay? Because I can think of a lot of companies at the moment where if that happened, Paula would be out of there fast as anything, okay? So I think very, very generous company. But we can see why that would constitute unethical behaviour, okay? It's a rather obvious scenario, I find, okay? So, that's just where we got these sources and scenarios from. Now, at the end of the day, all you really need to know from this lesson is what are ethics, what's ethical behaviour, what's unethical behaviour. As long as you've got that at the end of this lesson, you're good. Okay? Any questions? Tops? Mad.